The idea that students' motivation will make up for a lack of knowledge of critical words in a text is suggested by Common Core writers in Appendix A, where they state, students deeply interested in a given topic, for example, may engage with texts on that subject across a range of complexity. The few studies that support the idea of interest compensating for difficulty involve students reading short texts for short periods of time. And yes, there are anecdotal reports of interested readers persisting with hard texts, often coming from our own experiences or those of children in our acquaintance. But there are numerous questions about what challenging text means in day-to-day school settings. First, what is the discrepancy between readers' proficiency and text complexity? If readers are proficient with the core vocabulary, that is 90% of the words in most texts, they'll be able to navigate many texts. For these students, reading a text where 10% of the vocabulary is unknown may be tedious, but with sufficient interest and background, they have a greater likelihood of comprehending at least some of the text than students who don't have a solid foundation in the core vocabulary. Second, what is the duration of the challenge? It may be entirely possible for students to persist in reading a short text, which is challenging, but their engagement may wane with longer texts, especially ones that are book length. Third, what is the frequency of the challenge? If almost all of students' school time is spent with texts that they can't read facilely, they are less likely to respond with interest to challenging text than when such text consumes only part of their reading experiences. The frequency of the challenge brings up the issue of students' history with reading in school. If students have a long history of being given only challenging text in school, and there is evidence that that has been the case for many children of poverty, the engagement that they show as primary students will likely wane by middle school. As John Guthrie has shown, consistent diets of particular school tasks, including the degree of challenge in texts, can sustain engagement or lead to disinterest. The challenge for educators in Common Core classrooms is to create a diet of varied texts that supports students' development as readers, all the while involving them with compelling content that fosters an interest in learning.